Hey everybody, welcome back to the Doggone Positive Way, your dog training information podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please leave comments. You can DM me. I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, TikTok. It's at Doggone Positive. Look me up. Or Maria Ryan if you can't find me the other way. You never know how you can find people sometimes. Sometimes you type something in and it doesn't work out. Anyway, I digress. So, this is another court case. You know, I love Judge Judy because she says it like it is. But in this court case, it's again another dog-to-dog case of aggression. And we're just going to get into it and let the tape play. So let's go.
Is Judy Justice? Ethan Shepard is suing his neighbor, Joseph Hale, for vet bills and pain and suffering.
Court come to order. All rise. Have a seat, please. Hello, Judge. Case 3016, Shepard versus Hale. Thank you. You're welcome. Mr. Shepard, how long have you and Mr. Hale been neighbors?
About 3 years.
How long are you living in your property?
About 15 years.
So he's the newcomer.
Yes.
You are neighbors, but you live across the street from each other.
Or next door.
Right next door. Do you have a photograph of the property?
Yeah.
I'd like to take a look at it. Oh, there it is.
Okay.
Your house is on the right or the left?
My house on the left.
And your driveway is all the way left. I see a car in your driveway. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Going into a garage area or the side of the house?
The garage is on the, when it turns in. So like.
Yeah, okay. And the defendant's driveway is close to your house, is on your side of the house.
Yes.
Now, you each have dogs. You have a German Shepherd?
Yeah.
How old?
He's going to be 3. Wait, we got him in 2019. 20, right? 3? 4. Sorry.
Who's that?
That's my mom.
Yeah. Math. And you have 2 dogs.
Correct.
What kind of dogs do you have?
I have cane corsos.
Tell me what they look like.
They look like they're mastiffs.
Could you bring one up, Sarah, for me to take a look at?
Sure.
Unless you have a photograph.
I do.
She's going to show me anyway, because I know what a German Shepherd looks like.
Oh, a German Shepherd. I thought you were talking about
No,
King
King
Corsos.
Corso.
Yeah.
Oh, they're big dogs.
Big guys.
Big dogs. How old are your dogs?
About 4 and 3.5.
Anyway, this is what the lawsuit is about. It is your claim that the defendant's dogs, while unleashed, came on your property, attacked your dog. Your dog was injured. You want the defendant to be responsible for whatever vet bills there were and for punitive damages. You're suing him for $10,000. Defendant says that your dog actually came onto his property and then they ran back onto your property and that your dog was unleashed at the time that this happened. Now, the incident occurred on what date?
On March 5th, 2023.
According to what I read, you were going shopping with your mother or your grandmother? Your mother.
My mother. We're going to drive around the city, practicing for my driving test.
And you were taking the dog with you?
Yes.
And that was the plan. You were going to drive around, the dog was going to sit in the back seat or whatever. And you decided that you had to go to the restroom. So you went back into the house before you left.
Yes.
So your mother is here.
Mm-hmm.
And your mother's going to stand up now because your mother was there from the beginning. Your last name is?
Shepherd.
Shepherd. Ms. Shepherd, we're going to go to March 5th, approximately what time?
2:30.
I'd like you to go over to that photograph. Now, you were leaving the house with your son. He said, I have to go back into the house, go to the bathroom, and you were taking the Shepherd with you. Show me where you were getting into the car.
So my car was parked here. Buck and I came out of the front door and we're standing about here. Buck went into the yard about right here, was smelling around.
Just a second. So let's do this slowly.
Okay.
You come out of the house with Buck.
Yeah. So we walked across the driveway.
Yes.
Into the front yard about here.
No, that's not what you said a moment ago. A moment ago, you said you were standing here and Buck walked over to the grass. That's what you said a moment ago.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I want you to be very, very careful.
Okay.
Let's be very careful.
Okay.
because I'm creating a picture in my mind, and I don't want the picture that you create for me to be different from what actually happened.
Okay.
Do we understand each
Yes.
other?
Yes.
You walked out of the house with Buck.
Yes.
You were going to go in your car.
Yeah.
You were standing where?
I was standing here in the driveway.
You were standing in the driveway, and the dog,
Walked into the yard about here.
okay, to relieve himself.
He was just smelling.
smelling around.
Yeah.
Okay, and at that time,
All right. I know that this is kind of a little belaboring as far as exactly where she was, exactly where the dog was. How many of you are like, was the dog on a leash? Clearly the dog wasn't on a leash, okay? You can kind of just tell, because she would have said that. She would have offered that information up straight away. I know I would have. If I came out of the house with my dog and they needed to relieve themselves out front, I would have walked the dog over on leash to the grass. They can relieve themselves, and then we would go right into the car.
the dog was unleashed.
Correct. Because we were about to
Job-
get into it.
Not because
Okay.
the dog, a big dog, was unleashed.
Yes.
Okay. And so now he's in the middle of the yard, unleashed.
Correct.
And what happened next?
I walked onto the grass by the dog. I was going to start putting him in the car. I turned.
Did you call him? Did you call him to come to you?
No, I was standing next to him.
No, you weren't. You were in the driveway. You said you
No, but I
started to
walked
walk
onto the grass.
over. You
Yeah.
said you started to walk over.
Correct.
And I said to you, did you call him first because you're standing in
No.
the driveway? Did you say, Buck?
No.
Well, how are you going to get him? You're going to grab his collar? How are you going to grab him to put him in the car?
Right on.
Ethan Shepard claims his
Ethan's
neighbor, Joseph
walking
Hale,
the,
owes for vet
mullet
bills and pain and suffering.
right on, Ethan.
Joseph is countersuing for damages from an assault with a baseball bat.
Now, I said to you, did you call him first because you're standing in
No.
the driveway? Did you say, Buck?
No.
Well, how are you going to get him? You're going to grab his collar? How are you going to grab him to put him in the car?
I walked to him to bring him to the car. I didn't call his name. I just walked to him.
And how are you going to bring him? I mean, you know, when I
he's
say,
going to follow me to the car.
well,
He
that's
knows
not a
we're
mess.
getting him. He knew we were going to get into the car.
Well, you know, he didn't know you were going to get into the car. If you called him,
I didn't
have to
have
be-
time to say anything.
well, you had time to walk over. Instead of walking over, why don't you just call him? You're closer to the car from the driveway than you are going to the grass. That's what I want you to be really careful about, Miss Shepard. I want you to be really careful about what you say to me because I'm a dog owner.
Okay.
I've had puppies that I don't trust outside by themselves. And then when they get older, if I was standing in the driveway and my dog, according to you, knew we were going in the car, I would have said, Buck, let's go. That's just normal for a dog owner, for a dog that's 4 years old. Buck, let's go. Not walking over and leaning over and grabbing him because he's unleashed by a collar, which
Right.
I assume he had on, to walk him over to the car. Doesn't make sense to me. Okay.
Okay.
Let's continue with this.
Okay.
So now the dog is unleashed. You're walking over on the grass.
Correct.
And
And I'm standing next to Buck. I'm walking towards him, looking out towards the street because I'm walking forward. I see Bruno, the black dog, look at us. He takes off running around our little fence here and starts heading over to where I am standing with Buck. I start screaming, no, no, Buck, no, no. Buck turns and sees Bruno. Bruno is on him. They're wrestling, they're chasing, they're running to our porch. I'm running behind them, screaming. I run inside my house, grab a bat. We have bats at our front door because there's a lot of homeless people and we have to protect ourselves. They've come to the door before. While I'm getting the bat, I throw off my sandals. My mom hears me screaming, who was in the living room. She stands up, goes to the door. Ethan was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom. They both run out into the front yard. I follow them out. When I come out, I now see Joe.
who's Joe? Raise your hand.
Oh, I'm sorry. Joe, our neighbor. He is now in our yard. The female dog, Beulah, is on Buck. They're fighting.
Show me where.
This isn't my car, this is my dad's, but my car was here. They're fighting by my car. The dogs are biting. Joe's on the ground in between the dogs with Beulah's collar. My son is standing there screaming. Bruno, the black dog that had started the fight, was now on our grass. He was headed home. He turned back and looked at me, and I had the bat, and I'm screaming at him, "Go home, Bruno, go home. Out of my yard." Joe is saying, hit him, in the midst of him with the dogs fighting. I chased Bruno into his yard. So now Bruno is standing here.
Now this
Oh, he
fence
goes
is how
around the fence.
this fence stops on the property before the property ends.
Yeah, it goes, there's a couple feet where it's just free. There's like a meter thing in the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
How high is that fence?
Here's a picture
Maybe
for
to
it.
my knees.
Oh, I see it, please.
Oh, here's a
Okay.
good
I
one.
think you can hop
Okay.
over it. I'm standing here yelling at Bruno.
Oh, this is
"Go on."
an
Okay, this is not a fence. I mean, I don't know. Like, you might as well not have a fence. This is ridiculous.
easy hop fence. This is,
Yes.
yes, this isn't a high fence. This is
No.
a fence. It's not designed to do anything but visually separate the
Yeah.
property. I understand.
Yeah.
Okay, let's stop for a moment. Go back.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Hale,
Yes.
I'd like you to go over to the same photograph.
Mm-hmm.
You were in your garage.
Correct. With the dog.
This is your garage
Correct.
with your garage door open,
Correct.
with your dogs unleashed.
Correct.
Somehow your unleashed dogs got out.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So on Sunday, 2:30, March 5th, I was in my garage with the dogs, and I noticed their dog came to the fence line and came over. My dogs came to here. They're looking at each other. Their dog growls. The dogs run out, come over, start running over here. I give chase.
Okay, let's stop there. I want you to read that back to me, and I want you to listen carefully to what Whitney is going to read.
Okay, so on Sunday, 2:30, March 5th, I was in my garage with the dogs and I noticed their dog came to the fence line and came over. My
Came
dog,
to the fence line. Just stop there 1 second. Show me the fence line. Show me came over. Careful. Show me came over.
Technically not came over it. On
Okay,
the fence
that's
line.
what I wanted to make
And-
sure. So technically, there's nothing technically. That's like basically.
Correct.
Their dog did not come on your property. Their dog came to the fence. Your dogs came to the fence, but their dog did not come on your property. Go back. That's either a yes or a no. Your dogs came around and went on their property.
Correct. After their dog growled at my dogs.
That's okay. Dogs growl. That's what dogs do. That's what dogs do. Your dogs got on to their property. And as a result of that, their dog was injured and you're responsible for the vet bills. That's easy. You're responsible for the vet bills. Their dog was unleashed. If you had said to me, yes, their dog came around to and then scooted back to my property, we would have had a whole different scenario here. But their unleashed dog was on their property, and your unleashed dogs came on their property, and there was a dog fight, and you're responsible. Now, I also understand, sir, that this was not the first time that there has been an incident involving your two dogs.
Here it is. Again, I always say behavior does not happen in a vacuum, meaning it's not just this one incident. Some people think, and people still say it, he just all of a sudden he just snapped, and that's no, that's not how behavior works. There is a buildup. There is always an antecedent. There is an antecedent, there is the behavior, and then there is consequence. So I don't know what the antecedent was. We don't know that. And the behavior was aggression, dog to dog aggression in this case, going over. And the consequence is dogfight. The consequence for the owner is vet bills. And the dogs are, that was their first one. I don't know if it was reported. We'll see. This is the second incident. It doesn't, vets only have to report when it's a dog bite to a human, not if it's a dog to dog incident. They don't have to, they're not required, they don't have to, they don't. So that is something to think about.
Dogs.
Correct.
Is that right? The first one was several years before.
Correct.
And at that time, several years before, there was also some injury to the German Shepherd.
And he's only been living there for 3 years, by the way, the Cane Corso owner.
Ethan Shepard is accusing his neighbor, Joseph Hale, of owing for vet bills after Joseph's dogs attacked his dog. Joseph is countersuing, claiming he was assaulted with a baseball bat.
Now, I also understand, sir, that this was not the first time that there has been an incident involving your two dogs.
Correct.
Is that right? The first one was several years before.
Correct.
And at that time, several years before, there was also some injury to the German Shepherd.
Correct.
Well, do you own your house?
No.
You rent.
Correct.
How long have you rented there?
4 years.
You have a landlord?
Correct.
You have homeowners insurance?
I had renter's insurance.
You had renter's insurance. You don't have any more.
Love this.
No.
You want to tell me why?
The renter's insurance, it lapsed 2 weeks prior to the first altercation. And then after that first altercation, the Shepherds, during all that, I paid the vet bills and took care of everything as I should.
From your insurance?
No. Out of
Without
pocket.
your insurance?
Without my insurance, out of pocket. And then they got an attorney involved and tried to sue over that incident. Well, with that being said,
Your
renter's-
insurance company dropped you.
Correct.
Well, of course, because when you applied for renter's insurance, did you tell them that you had 2 King Corsos?
Yes, they did.
And they probably upped your premium? Did they up your premium?
No.
Sarah Rose, there's a registry for the top, well, they're more than the top 5, but just give me.
I love this. This is really important for you guys to listen to. Liability is huge, especially if you own your house. But listen to this.
The top 5 most dangerous dogs is rated by insurance companies.
So I have a Forbes article that discusses dog breeds that are banned by the top insurance companies, and it puts them in percentage of banned lists with
Okay.
this breed.
Let's go to German Shepherds.
45% banned.
45%.
Banned 40% of the time by insurance companies.
40.
45.
45. And what about
Okay, up here. Wait a second. Hang on a second. All right, we've got wolf dog, like a wolf hybrid, right? Then we've got the Preston Canario, the Akita, the German Shepherd, the Husky, the Mastiff. The Cane Corso is an Italian Mastiff, and it's pronounced Cane Corso, not King Corso. So, okay, Mastiff, I mean, Neo, Bull, I guess any Mastiff. Alaskan, Malamute, Bull Mastiff. Oh, here's the Bull Mastiff. That's interesting. Caucasian Shepherd. I don't know what that is. I will look, assuming it's a white Shepherd. American Bulldog, and the Cane Corso, and then we've got Great Dane, and I don't know what that is. But this is the percentages that are rated for insurance companies. Let's listen to how they are rating it.
Percent of the time they're dropped or not offered coverage due to the breed of the dog.
So I would suggest that you have these big dogs and you have no insurance anymore. Do you have a job?
Yes, I do.
Make a salary?
Yes.
Something happens, they can attach your salary. Something happens with those 2 dogs, they can attach your salary. So you can't be cavalier about these large dogs that have already showed a propensity that they can be violent. That's on you. It's one thing, and believe me, I'm not minimizing the fact that a dog was injured, but it could just as well have been a small child that ventured on to your property. You have to keep those dogs in check all the time. You too. There's a reason why you're supposed to have dogs under your control at all times.
the German Shepherd was rated a higher percentage of an insurance company not covering you than the Cane Corso, which I find very interesting, but it is true. It's just a matter of they're taking these percentages and they're looking up how many dog bites there were per breed.
And I say this, especially big dogs that can cause serious damage. Now, what were your vet bills?
Total of $377.33.
I'd like to see them.
Sorry.
Just a little comic relief for me. Could you tell me how $322.90 translates into $10,000?
For emotional distress. For
Whose?
attacks. Mine.
Whose? For yours?
Yeah.
You were in the bathroom.
No, I came out during the fight.
I know.
Okay.
$322.
Okay.
That's on your team. You have a counterclaim for $10,000.
Yes.
And your counterclaim is that while you were trying to separate these dogs, you got bit.
I did get bit on my hands and wrists, and I have pictures.
And why do you think he's responsible for that?
It was their dog that
Who
bit me.
cares? The incident was, put your hand down. The incident was precipitated by your dogs not being under your control. And if you got into the mix and try to separate them and their dog bit you, well, that's what happens. That's why you should keep your dogs on leashes. I would like you to walk over to that photograph and point out to me on the photograph where you were when your hand got bitten.
I was right here.
You were on their property, right?
Correct.
Now you understand? Now, if you had been on your property and their unleashed dog followed you back to your property and you were on your property, I'd hear you. But you're on their property. You would get.
So if their dog bit one of the German Shepherd's owners, then he would have been responsible for paying for their medical bills. That's where the 10 grand would have come in on the plaintiff's side for pain and suffering. And of course, there would be doctor bills.
Getting your dogs back in between the dog fight. Counterclaims dismissed. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $322. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
Well, I'm just happy it's over and we get to go back to being neighbors.
I think it was fair they had to pay the vet bills, but I think emotional distress could have been given a little bit as well.
I dove into the middle of the dog fight and separated my dog from both dogs fighting, and I brought my dog back onto the property.
Traumatic. Seeing my dog get attacked for the second time by these same dogs and having to live it all again.
Their investigation was to see who was at fault, but both dogs were off leash, so they deemed no one at fault.
I think it was fair. I just wish that we could have touched base on the main reason why we're here. It was my son's emotional distress. He had to see a psychologist. Seeing our dog in distress and his demeanor had changed.
People want to sue for everything.
I mean, I'm happy with her ruling, but I just wish we would have had a little more say.
That was from the first altercation
Wanted
2
a
years
little bit
ago.
more.
He was bitten in a dog fight. We did not determine if it was my dog or his dog.
They came out because
That's interesting. So he was bitten in the first dog fight. I don't know. I don't remember if they said where the dog fight was, the first one. But they had no idea which dog bit him. So they couldn't say, oh, your dog bit, and then sue the neighbor.
we felt that if the dogs needed to be taken, or we just felt like it was the right thing to do, that they needed to come out.
Well, we just both keep our dogs on a leash and stay away from each other.
I know that list was a little confusing, but I wanted just to read it word for word. I guess the way Forbes had it illustrated was just the percentage of those types of dogs that are banned on the top insurance companies list as far as home insurance, renters insurance. So I'd assume German Shepherds came up higher just because they're more known or
Probably more popular
breed.
Popular breed.
But King Corsos were right up there. I'd be scared of both dogs if they came running in my yard.
Yeah, it's so frightening. And I love dogs, but I'm not a big dog
Yeah,
lover.
you're a small
I'm a
dog.
little dog person, because if they bite you, they can't kill you. They can nip you when, could be uncomfortable for a couple of days.
That is true. I was bitten by a chihuahua on my ankle. God, no pun intended about ankle biters, but it's where they reach. It's like their height. So, we got to go there. But it was a puncture. I bled. It swelled. I was on antibiotics. I didn't report it. I took care of it. I didn't have to go to the doctor or anything, but yeah. It could have, if it was a big dog, it could have done some damage, but it was a chihuahua.
But I would be petrified if two cane corsos came running in my direction and nobody was in tethered control of them. And people think, their dogs are wonderful with them, they're gentle, but this defendant had a history with his dogs. He actually paid out of pocket a couple of years ago for injuries that his dogs caused. Anyway, you have a big dog, you're supposed to have big responsibility. You want less responsibility? Get a chihuahua. Or your horse.
Right on. Even though a chihuahua bites, but all dogs bite. So let's get into it a little bit more. Yeah, all dogs bite, but what dog is going to do the most damage? A large breed dog is going to do the most damage. A medium-sized dog is going to do damage. A little 3-pound dog, as far as on adults, but again, with children get bitten in the face all the time because they're at the same height level as the dog is. If they're on the floor, just watch your dogs, okay? If you know that guy knew that his dog was aggressive, then wouldn't you think that you would take more care and concern that your dog wasn't on off leash, that your dog is going to get away with you or get away from you, is going to run on the other property? I mean, I would be concerned about that most of all. And do the preventative work up front. Be proactive. And those guys too, the German Shepherd owner, it's like, just because it's your property, unless you're all fenced in, then don't open your front door, because forget even the guy next door with his dogs. What if your dog ran out in the street and got hit by a car? You're going to sue the person who hit your dog? Guess what? You wouldn't win because your dog was off leash and your dog was not in your care, custody, and control. And, they're kind of lucky that they didn't get sued for their dog biting the neighbor, only because everything happened on their property where his dogs came over and attacked their dog. So you guys really need to watch what you're doing with your dogs. If your dogs are aggressive, you need to use either a basket muzzle on them, especially any kind of aggression. I don't care. Dog to dog aggression? Definitely. Dog to human aggression? Oh my God, you better take caution. Get a trainer, not a force trainer, not a trainer that's going to hang your dog and punish your dog or shock your dog, but a trainer that is going to teach your dog, mostly teach you how to focus on you, how to not be so explosive, reactive to other dogs, other people, or just have an honest conversation with you if your dog really should be euthanized because they're so aggressive and they're so dangerous. It's definitely something that you need to think about when you have a dog. When you're going to get a big dog, I don't care, when you get any dog, any puppy, do training. Train the hell out of your dog. Train. And prepare yourself and your dog for other dogs like this, for other situations like this. You want to avoid these situations. You don't want your dog to be an aggressive dog. Do the work up front. Do your preventative up front. So I think we're probably going to change gears for next episode. Thanks so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think about these reaction videos. I am kind of using them as a jumping off point for just some training information, some insurance information, like the things you need to look for when you're getting a dog. Say you want to get a pit bull. That's totally cool. I love pit bulls. I would get a pit bull in a heartbeat. But is my insurance going to cover it? Probably not. Or if they cover that dog, am I going to have a higher premium? I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm going to future-proof my puppy, my pit bull puppy, so that my pit bull puppy isn't aggressive, isn't dog-to-dog aggressive, doesn't attack people, doesn't attack other dogs. And that's what you guys need to do. Future-proof your puppies.